Hey everybody. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about setting up series circuits in TinkerCAD. Uh, Over here on the right, we have an example of a series circuit, and for the sake of Resistance Lab 2, we first need to calculate the total resistance for the circuit. So once again, resistance total is equal to resistor 1 plus resistor 2. And in this case, resistor 1 is equal to 10,000 ohms, and resistor 2 is equal to 5,000 ohms. So when we add those two things up, we come up with 15,000 ohms or 15 kilo ohms. So that's going to be the first thing you need to do for this. And now we're going to jump over to TinkerCAD. All right, so in TinkerCAD, let's start off with like a fresh bit here. We're going to say create a new circuit. Okay, I've already kind of done that, but let's just do it like this. Create a new circuit. And we're going to need to pull in a few things. The first thing we're going to need for this circuit is a breadboard. Okay, and it can be like any of these breadboards. This one will be fine. So as we learned in the lesson, or in the video, breadboards are connected in their rows. Okay, so as I hover over this, we get a great visual representation of like what is connected together with this green outline. They're separated by the gap that runs down the center. And then on either side, we have buses. We have a negative bus and a positive bus on either side. Note that the buses are not connected to one another, okay? So like this negative bus connects all the way down this line, but it does not connect to that one. Same thing with the positive. Later on, when we start using power, we're going to connect these buses together so that we can use them both at the same time. So now, next thing we're going to do here is we're going to bring in a resistor. Okay, so I'm just searching for, nope, that's not what I want. Okay, here we go. We have a resistor. We're going to take two of these in here in this case. Okay, so when I select a resistor, I can change its value. You can either change its value based upon ohms, kilo ohms, mega ohms, giga ohms. You can also do like less than one, but in our class, it's basically going to be these three options, primarily ohms or kilo ohms, honestly. So if I select kilo ohms, I can say that this is a 10 kilo ohm resistor. Notice how now it's brown, black, orange. And I can change this one to be a 5 kilo ohm resistor. Again, I could change this to be like ohms, and I could change it instead of being just 5, I could change it to being 5,000. Either way works, but we'll just leave this in 5 kilo ohms like this. So one thing you're going to need to do on this is rotate your object. So in the top left corner here, there's a rotate option, but you can also hit the R to do this. Okay, so if I select this and I hit the R button, I can rotate these things around. So once again, we have connections running this way, which is why I've rotated these around, because we need these to straddle multiple rows. So in this case here, when I drag this over, my resistor starts in row 1 and it ends in row 5. And if I bring this resistor over, it now is starting in row 5 and ends in row 9. My cat is wanting a lot of attention this morning, but I'll be off. Okay, so at this point, ladies and gentlemen, and again, when we look back at this circuit here, we can ignore the battery for this moment. We have a resistor 1, which is wired into a resistor 2. Despite the fact that this is turning the corner, electronically it's the same thing as this. All right, it would also be electronically the same thing as if I used the gap to separate these things out. Okay, that's the same as well. But let's start off with this. So we also need to, and like even when I type in resistor, it starts to come up a multimeter. We could also just type in, why can't I type multi? Okay, I can grab a multimeter and I can bring it in here. So my multimeter can either measure amperage, and for the multimeter here, you can either measure amperage, voltage, or resistance. In our case, if I select this, I can come over here and I can measure resistance. So we have our black test lead and our red test lead, all right? So when we come through, we're gonna take a wire, we're gonna click on the end there, take a wire, I'm gonna bring it down. One thing that I'm a big stickler on is wire color. Everything that's negative should be black. Everything that's positive should be red, always. So when you come in here, change to black, okay? Just highlight the wire and you can change its color. We're gonna come in here. Really don't want my wires to like overlap one another. Again, that's more just like a visual type of thing, which you are gonna be taking screenshots of this. So visual is important. We have the red lead. So again, when we think about this, we have the negative test lead is going to one side of this, the positive test lead is going to the other. You can almost say that the multimeter is going to act as the like quote unquote battery. All right. So when I go to start the simulation at the top here, we now start to measure its resistance, and we are going to measure a perfect 15 kiloohms. Now in real life, there's tolerances involved in these resistors, and in real life, it would measure anywhere plus or minus 5% of this, okay? So it might read somewhere in like the high 14,000s or maybe somewhere in the low 15,000s. On the simulator, that's always going to read exactly right. So that's how we measure that. Now you need to take a screenshot of this to put into your activity. So let's review quickly how to do that. All right, so to take a screenshot of a portion of the screen on your Chromebooks, you're going to hold down the Shift button, the Control button, and the Show Window button. All right, when you're going to see like a crosshair logo, and you're going to create that for that. On my computer, because I'm using a PC, I'm going to use the snipping tool. All right, but again, it's the same idea. I'm going to take my crosshairs, I'm going to drag around my circuit. You could take the whole thing, or you could take everything that's important. In this case, this is really all I care about. And there's my circuit. So now we can paste that image into your assignment moving forward. Okay, if you had multiple LED, or not LEDs, but resistors, if you had like a lot of them, Control C, Control. If you have multiple resistors in series, you could connect another one up here. You could then move your test lead, and you could start your simulation again, and it would change your resistance. Okay, so that is setting up a series circuit on TinkerCAD.